Hello, and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk everything animation here, including BoJack Horseman, which we'll be talking about today. I'm your host, Alex Bonilla, and today I'm joined by Sam Quattro.
Hello.
And Michelle Anderer.
Hello.
Today we are discussing the episodes 3 and 4 of the latest season of BoJack Horseman, Feel Good Story and Surprise. We previously had a discussion on the first 2 episodes of the season, and we also have a full season discussion out to our immediate reactions to that season. You can find all that at overlyanimated.com. You can also find it on your preferred podcatcher, whether that be iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to us. You can find that at YouTube as well, at youtube.com/overlyanimated. And wherever you listen to us, we always appreciate any ratings and reviews you want to leave us. But yeah, today we are going to go a bit more in depth on these 2 episodes. And I guess we'll begin, as usual, with general thoughts. If there's something that stood out to you from these episodes, or just general impressions on how you feel after rewatching them. Let's go to you first. After watching these 2 episodes, so what's your immediate thoughts?
Alright, so when I first watched Feel Good Story, I was like, okay, this is great. I love a Diane episode. They're my favorite episodes because Diane's one of my favorite characters. But upon rewatch, it's like, maybe I liked it more in concept. I did enjoy the whole, taking down the capitalist system and, oh, wait, there's actually more to this and you can't single-handedly take it down and, you're kind of just sucked into it at all times. I think that has some merit. Obviously, being who I am. But the whole Guy and Diane thing, I'm kind of back and forth on it. I feel, sometimes I feel like, it's a good thing. And other times I'm like, why does she need to be in a relationship to, be a better person? But other times, I get it. So, I don't know. It depends on the day, I guess, that I'm thinking about it. As for Surprise, honestly, upon my first watch of it, it's it is my favorite gag episode of BoJack.
Ooh.
Because I really like the dumb setup of everybody trying to get out of the surprise party. It works for me completely. I mean, BoJack is known for doing these gag episodes not every once in a while, at least once a season they do something really silly and really tropey and really we're trying to do this thing that's very sitcom-y. And this one completely worked for me. It worked for me in rewatch. I really think it's hilarious because it's just so stupid and simple, and it's not trying to shoot the moon like Henry Fondle or the asexuality thing last season with the parents are like, oh, we're so sexual. Have some lube, that sort of thing. I hated that.
Right.
But this is great. I love Surprise, and I love the character moments that we get out of it, too. But honestly, I just like how fun it is. I like how simple the puzzle is of everybody trying to get out of the house. And, ooh, what are they saying about Pickle's parents? And, ooh, what are they saying about BoJack or Diane or whatever? And Diane's in the room, and I love it. It's great.
All right. I definitely want to dig into to the Diane relationship stuff once we get to that episode. But thanks for that general
You're
thoughts. Welcome. Michelle, what are your initial impressions of these 2 episodes?
On some level, I agree with Sam that Surprise is just the most lighthearted episode we've had this season. So it's easy to root for it just because everything else has just kind of been coded in this serious kind of, this is the final season, we gotta talk about all this stuff, and people are trying to make amends, but it's hard. And Feel Good Story has a little bit of that. I'd agree with Sam in that I feel a little... I want Diane to be happy, and she's also one of my favorite characters, but it also seems like both her and Guy have so much going on in their actual lives, and they don't even know if they're quite in a relationship by the end of this episode. And I think it's great that Diane wants to try, and there's something worth just, even if you don't know if something's going to work out, if you like someone and you want to be with them and enjoy it while it lasts, that's super fair. But I don't know. It feels like there's when the dust settles, there might be a lot they still need to reconcile with, and I guess that's giving me a little bit of trepidation. I would say that feeling kind of echoes for me with Surprise, just in terms of, like, I love Pickles so much. Pickles is so genuine and so sweet, and, like, the fact that she has, like, this growing, like, online audience of subscribers being so important in her life feels like such a thing that certainly, like, younger millennials and Gen Zers can understand very well. If you are a social media person, your online followers do kind of have this weird quasi friendship with you, where they have glimpses into your life and you rely on them for a sense of validation, but also, like, is that real? And Pickles just kind of takes it to this extreme where she's, like, telling them everything, and she's like, what should I do? Should I go back to him? Should I not? And she's, like, actually listening to their feedback and making choices based off of it. And I love that as a concept. I mean, like, I want what's best for Pickles too. And Mr. Peanut Butter's a lot. And I think it's good that he was completely honest with her, not right away, but by the end of the episode. But that part, like, the shenanigans were all good and very lighthearted and hilarious. And, like, I agree with Sam, like, that is such a good concept for an episode. Like, how do you escape a surprise party undetected?
I love it.
It's so good. Like, it sounds so basic, but actually it's very complicated. And the episode shows you how complicated that is when you actually try to escape. But yeah, in terms of everyone's relationships with each other, for Pickles and Diane, I'm very concerned in the long term if anything good's gonna happen. But momentarily it seems like they're just trying to make it work the best they can, because they're human and they want to be happy. They want to believe they can be happy, and, like, that's very real too.
Okay. Thank you for that. Now, just giving my brief general thoughts here. I will agree that Surprise is a very well executed episode in terms of basic physical comedy. I think Sam hits the nail on the head with comparing it to the Henry Fondle asexuality episodes in the past, in that those are going for more absurdist humor, whereas this kind of feels a bit more grounded in the type of jokes they're making. Like, you know, it's just classic, like, trying to hide and seek, basically, for the entire episode. But, like, that feels closer to believability, and there's no baggage to that, so it just feels a lot easier to just let yourself sink into it and enjoy the chaos going on. So and of course wrapped up with the Mr. Peanut Butter and Pickles drama, and also, like, seeing all the cast interact with each other. Like, just it all comes together really well in that episode. And as for the Diane and Guy episode, I just found it very impressive on rewatch, like, how much stuff happens in this episode, because, like, the plot itself of the site getting bought out, and they're going through, like, anti-capitalist stuff, like, that feels like a lot already. And then we also, like, dive into, like, this whole development of their relationship together. They have a falling out, they get back together. Like, it feels like when I wrote it out, I was like, wow, like, this all happened in one episode. Like, it definitely feels like they squeezed a lot into this episode. It didn't feel longer than a normal one, but it's just, I do feel like they got a lot in there, and it's important for Diane, who's an important character on the show. And I guess what we'll begin with her episode, since I think it has a bit more deeper stuff to dive into. Also, a brief warning that we will probably end up discussing stuff from later on in the season as well. So spoilers if you haven't seen the full season from here on out. But yeah, this is the introduction of the Diane arc on this show. We have Diane kind of in the rebound phase, I suppose. Is that the right way to call this relationship? Moving on is probably just a better.
It's a new chapter in her life.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't call it like a rebound. Like, she's not, like, you know, having sex with some dude just cause, you know.
It's not about Mr. Peanut Butter at all.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I would say having sex with Mr. Peanut Butter was the rebound of Mr. Peanut Butter. But that doesn't make any sense, so. fine.
No, it totally makes sense.
Yeah, I get that. But so this relationship between Diane and Guy buds, but then eventually they get to a bit of complications in the middle there. And I think like the place that I want to start is this train conversation that Diane has with Guy at the end, like explaining why she's afraid of staying with Guy. She says something along the lines of, I can't be with you if you're the only good thing in my life. It's too much pressure. And I do want to dive into that part of it because I do think that's kind of a big part of Diane's character throughout the show of struggling with the idea of what actually makes her happy. And like, she wants to be this hard fighting journalist and like believes that's the thing that's going to get her through, but at the same time doing that on her own seems to always bring her into these depressive states. So like I do find it interesting to see the struggle that she deals with accepting new things into her life that are making her happy, but not wanting to depend on someone for it. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on how Diane juggles this in this episode. Michelle, I don't know if you want to jump in on this.
Diane, I mean, I think that's a super fair analysis. And I think I'd agree with it. I also wonder because Diane's always been the person who seems the most politically and socially conscious of the woes of our society, you know? And maybe on a level, part of the issue was also that she can't imagine how it could be fair for her to be super happy if the world is in such a devastating state of affairs all the time. Which is like hard. Yeah. How do you reconcile that? If you feel so much unfairness in the world at every given moment, how can you ever like feel content in your own personal life? And I think that's something everyone has to reconcile with. And I feel like for Diane, it's harder to. And maybe she's also just used to just the dynamic of having things not work out and relying on that in a weird kind of sad security blanket of just, you know, depression versus like a new world where she could maybe be more happy, but the uncertainty there and like, is it going to last? So, I mean, this does seem like a big step for her. And she seems to be doing it for reasons that make sense. I mean, again, I'm a little concerned that like Guy has his kid and like he didn't want them to meet yet because it didn't feel serious enough. But then if she's going to move out to be with him, like, is that going to change? And I don't know. But Diane clearly has a lot going on. But I think this is a decision she has to make for herself. So like, because she's deciding to move, I guess like it's fine to give her that. Maybe it'll be okay. I want to believe it'll be okay.
Yeah, I think we all want what's best for Diane.
Yeah.
for her to get there. I also like you mentioning that she kind of uses the depression sort of as a security blanket sort of thing. I did find kind of shocking the like Guy just immediately calling out like, why do you feel like the need to punish yourself for things like when they're giving her a coat, like because Guy hasn't known Diane for that long, and yet he feels comfortable enough making this statement with which we as viewers are probably like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. But like Guy has not known Diane for long enough, I think, to maybe get there. But it was just kind of a bit of a in your face reveal of how Diane may be feeling about these things. Sam, I don't know if you have thoughts on how Diane is juggling with finding her way to happiness or beginning to find her way in this episode.
I mean, I do have to applaud the writers because this is something that I think is really human and really, I mean, I don't want to say like hashtag relatable, but it kind of is.
It is!
Yeah.
To where, like, you know, you're kind of always, like, you know, if you do, like, meet somebody who's, you know, like could be a good thing and it could end up being this, like, amazing relationship and that really makes you feel good. And you're like, well, I don't know, because I'm kind of comfortable being alone and always just having this baseline sadness. And, it's scary to sort of go away from that because that's all I know. Like, I do have to applaud the writers for going into that, because I don't think that that's something that really gets talked about when, especially when people with, depression or other mental illnesses sort of find themselves in these new relationships. As for, where Diane is landing with Guy, obviously I just want Diane to be happy. And I think that she's definitely making the moves to do that. And I don't know, like, as there's like two different parts of me that's like, okay, I don't really like that. Maybe Guy is like her only source of happiness, and she's taking that as a route to be happy, and that's just kind of where the episode lands on that, and not so much as like the season, as far as we know, obviously with later on with Diane going on antidepressants and yada yada yada. Because I kind of want Diane to sort of find happiness for herself. But maybe on the other hand, maybe that is Guy. Maybe that is going into this new relationship away from everybody in LA, away from Mr. Peanut Butter, away from BoJack, finding herself in this new place with a new person that makes her feel good. So I don't know. I'm feeling a lot of things right now.
No, yeah, and I think it's another interpretation of this is not necessarily that this particular relationship is the conduit to her feeling better, but just having a different influence around her. Maybe
yeah.
Wow, I can't believe that you don't ship them, Alex.
Well, look, I mean, if you want to, that's fine. But I'm
just we don't know if they're like in love. Even they like each other. It's kind of enough for now.
Yeah. No, but what I mean is, like, I understand the hesitance to be like, oh, like putting Diane in a relationship is what's making her happy. But I don't think that it's just that. Like, I think it's also like, hey, look, I'm providing an opportunity for this to be a whole different environment for you, and you can start fresh, and that's not something that you should just easily reject if that's something that could potentially really help you out in the future. So, like, I think that there are layers to this opportunity that Diane is presented with, and it's not just the ship, but it's also that it's giving her a chance to branch off, and that's also why in Surprise that the talk between Diane and BoJack definitely feels like a parting of ways in a sense. Like, felt wholesome, but at the same time I felt like, okay, this is good for Diane. Like, she can finally break free from this part of her life and go on to a different kind of life. So, like, I enjoy that side of it, and I think that helps me to be okay with this new relationship being Diane's way to finding her new self.
Life just keeps going on no matter where you are.
Yeah, you just gotta make the best of it with the information you have at the time. Like, Diane can't tell the future, but, like, right now, it honestly seems like the best option.
Mm-hmm. She gets to make grilled cheese sandwiches wherever she feels like it.
Yeah.
Grilled cheese is so great.
It's very uncomplicated and good. I agree.
It is. I love a good grilled cheese.
I'll be the odd person out and say I don't really like grilled cheese. I think.
Wow. So, okay.
Is it too grilled for you? What is it, Alex?
I think it's too much bread. Like,
you just want cheese.
Well, put some like tomato or ham in it.
Well, but
dude.
then is it a grilled cheese at that point? I think it's just a sandwich.
Yeah, it's a ham cheese, no bread, just ham slices on each side of the cheese. Okay, grill it.
Okay, I might be into that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the point is, I want a more complicated thing besides cheese.
Get like a club sandwich then.
Yeah, club sandwich. Yeah, and also like sort of related to Diane's thing, we have this device of BoJack reading his letters from rehab, which I will say I think is more annoying than like it helps.
Yeah,
But I don't know about you guys. But
doesn't realize it though, which is a very BoJackism kind of thing.
upon rewatch, I kind of thought that they were like a little bit out of place. But while I was like into the season, I was like, okay, I get it, because this is like, BoJack and Diane's codependency kind of breaking apart, as Diane's having this new, person in her life. You know what I mean?
Well, they totally, that's so right, Sam, because like they even touch on that like in the surprise episode, because when she's saying like, I cannot move to Chicago if you're not okay, and he's like, that's not a relationship, that's a hostage situation. Yeah. They know they've been codependent, and they're trying to not let that get in the way anymore, which is good. It's a relief.
Yeah, that's a really good read on it. That it's like kind of the separation between this like mini story of BoJack dealing with somebody stealing his sandwich has nothing to do with what we see on the screen with Diane, and so maybe that represents like them going off in different directions. But I think at least the last letter is sort of connected, because at the end he talks about like, well, is it worth it for you to be happy for a little even though it ends sad, or would have been better if it didn't happen, which kind of connects to like Diane's like
that's like the eternal question of humanity, really.
Yeah.
Anyway, going
on what side of the eternal question do you lean, Sam?
I don't know, because like, all right, you can like really okay, honestly, I don't think that you can appreciate happiness until after it's gone. At least at times in my life, I'm like, oh, I was really like, that was probably the happiest point in my life, even though during that time I knew I was fucking miserable. But looking back, I was like, oh, because of these elements, I must have been happy. So I don't know. But then if you're like going through like a true happiness, and you realize that you're happy during it, and then you're sad after, well, I guess it's worth. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's worth it. This is why I'm always like, if you have a favorite pet who dies, do not swear off pets the rest of your life.
God, Michelle.
Yeah, they're all gonna die, but you gotta take the time to love as many pets as possible and make their lives happier. I've run into so many like older coworkers and friends who've been like, oh yeah, that one dog when I was 6 was the peak of all pets, and then I never had a dog for the rest of my life, even though I love dogs. And it's like, why would you do that to yourself? Get a new dog, love it, and then get another one. It's fine. Be happier. It won't be forever, but it'll be better than being sad, wishing you had a dog for 20 years.
People are just afraid to cry about things.
Well, don't be afraid of that either.
Well, and I think this was back to Diane, right? Because she, in that moment when she's getting away from Guy, she's like, I'm afraid that it's going to be too much pressure to have this be the good thing in my life. So, like, at first she's deciding, like, maybe it's better for me to just not go through with it rather than, like, be temporarily happy and then deal with terrible consequences afterwards. But eventually she comes around. It's like, well, let me enjoy the happiness and let me not assume that everything is going to go wrong, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And BoJack is going through a similar thing where he like mentions something like, I've wasted years being miserable because I assumed that was the only way to be. Like, now he's like slowly figuring out for himself like how to deal with his life in a way that he doesn't have to assume that everything will go terribly once stuff happens. So, like, for BoJack and Diane, this is a very invigorating season, and I think that this episode for Diane is an important step in, realizing, or getting to a point where you can accept good things without having to let yourself be consumed by the anxiety of the terrible things that will happen later.
Yes, strong agree.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I'm letting my therapy leak into here.
It's
fine. No, I was actually thinking like BoJack wouldn't be able to like have insights like that if not for the fact that he is now taking therapy for the first time while he's in rehab.
Well, that's
and then it also made me think about Diane in the discussion of antidepressants later in the season too, because like not everything has to be terrible. and maybe you can take steps to make life more manageable and better. But, like, you don't want to for certain reasons that make sense to you. But if you could just let go of that and do the thing, maybe you'll be a lot happier. But it's like a step, and it's a scary step.
It is.
And I
It's
get
scary to be a human being in the
Yeah.
world.
And
To let yourself be vulnerable and let other people know how you feel.
And to think you
About
can't be
anything.
okay by yourself with no help, I guess. Yeah.
Accepting help is a whole process and something that we've seen Diane go through gradually throughout this show, and we're seeing here another piece of that. And then later in the season, we get to her slowly coming to terms with accepting the help of antidepressants. So like it all takes time, but that's kind of the deal with getting to a place of happiness, that it gotta go through with the road, even if you end up sad in certain moments. But it's
You just
to focus
need
on the long
people
run.
who love you.
Yeah, and
But also
guess.
love yourself well enough to try to make your life better
Yeah.
with help. Yeah.
Yeah. So, along with this road of self improvement, we also have this road of exposing capitalism and the terrible ills that it inflicts on our society. Sam, as an anti-capitalist,
that's me.
How do you feel about Diane's efforts to expose the man, and the man saying "fuck you, I don't care"?
I can relate to Diane because I feel like a dumbass half the time when I'm talking about, like, anti-capitalism, because I don't know. I'm one person, and I don't know fucking everything under the sun in terms of, like, theory and when it's put into practice. Anyway, I think it's admirable, Diane's fight to, expose all the bullshit. And it's kind of depressing, the message at the end, that, like, you can't really fight all these mega corporations if you're just one person or two people, even if you're doing it from the inside, and even if you are, like, really smart about it. I thought that was kind of sad and, like, kind of disheartening in a way, though I do admire Diane's gumption and her fight and her opinions. But I don't know, I guess we just all need to unionize and take down the man.
Yeah, I will say the conclusion of just ending with, hey, there's a law that billionaires can kill people and it's fine. It's like, so,
yeah, it's okay. Don't
It's so
worry about
bleak.
it.
It's bleak, and it definitely feels like we don't know a clean place to end this, so let's just make it totally absurd and just get
Yeah. That's honestly how I feel with a lot of, like, BoJack's, like, serious TM messages, that they kind of end on it in, like, a really absurd, like, oh, everything just kind of sucks anyway, who cares way.
I felt this more than some. Like, I thought Thoughts and Prayers was honestly such a brilliant episode.
That's a very
because, like, there's
one,
a
right?
clear thing you can do to fix the problem in that sense. So it's not as, because, like, this, like, yeah, how do you fix this? Everything being monopolized into 4 companies. That's, like, a looming dread. And that feels so huge. It's hard to imagine how we could stop it. But at the same time, I don't know, it kind of, like, freaked me out a little. But maybe that's because I'm a part of Warner Media now. So it's just like, this is literally my life.
Michelle, maybe it's that we become billionaires somehow.
and
we kill the billionaires, and then we die.
And then
we have
we spread the wealth.
Have you ever read? Well, of course you have read and or seen a Romeo and Juliet adaptation.
Yes,
sure.
It's kind of like Tybalt and Mercutio kill each other. That could be us and the billionaires.
That could be us. Okay, that's a good point, Sam.
I just have to figure out how to make $1 billion, and
yeah.
Good luck.
This side of the episode also has a lot of the gags of the episode too. So just like some brief stuff that I want to discuss. They're interviewing an animal doll company that gets acquired by the white whale company, and they mentioned that there's a giraffe that has a long neck to represent giraffes, and Diana's like, as a necky gal, I love that.
She is a necky gal.
We did talk a lot about her neck last season when she got a haircut. It's true.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
really-
We did.
I love it.
Yeah, she's very aware and proud of her neck, so that's good.
Okay, real quick, tangent. I'm still really confused about like that light blue patch on her hair. Is that like a dye or is that like a shaved part?
Oh, wait. Okay, I'm gonna have to look at a picture now.
Yeah,
Okay.
because like I've just been confused about it, and like I think it's a dyed part, but
Let me
But-
see. Oh, no. The light patch is where it's like buzzed there.
is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
She's
is
an
there like some
undercut.
weird shading going on there?
It's an undercut, yeah. So it's like little stubbly hairs coming
Good.
through.
I'm glad.
Yeah, it's an undercut for sure.
Okay.
Thank you, Michelle, for
You're welcome.
validating.
Then later, when they get when their site gets bought out, Girl Crush gets bought out by a Spronk rebranding to Content Spew. Is Content Spew more? What's closer to BuzzFeed, Girl Crush or Content Spew?
Okay, so Girl Crush was like Jezebel, and
Okay.
Content Spew is like BuzzFeed.
Okay.
Oh, there we
okay,
go.
there.
Sam's got it.
Yeah. So
Or like it's or maybe like Girl Crush might be like Bitch Media. I don't know, or some other. But I think Jezebel was the clear one, the one there.
Okay, yeah. So rip Girl Crush. That's over and done with. Is this the last we've seen of Stefani?
Yes. Well, her brother isn't in the fucking show anymore, so why would we need her?
Oh, yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. So
Don't you know if the male character you're introduced with disappears, your days are numbered?
Yeah. So
It's only a matter of time before Alex leaves and then I get killed off.
Wow.
Taking
Well,
its turn.
I was introduced after you.
Yeah,
so-
that's true. I guess Dylan would be the. Never mind. Anyway, let's keep going.
Is Dylan the billionaire in this situation? Anyways,
my God.
let's,
He's a white whale.
at the White Whale meeting, we meet Barnacle Lady. I will say,
Oh,
like,
she's
this
my favorite.
this design is very inspired because, like, every
I
time
love
she opens
her.
her mouth, they
She
like do
makes
the
a throw
effort.
up sound.
Yeah, they do the throw up sound. They make the effort to animate those little tentacle thingies coming out of
I
her
feel
mouth.
weird about it.
So good.
I feel
love
weird
it.
about it too, but I'm also like impressed every time it happens. I'm like, ooh, this is a weird character, and I like it.
Yeah, because like the tone is so tense every time they're in the White Whale headquarters, and she's like the assistant to the president CEO guy, and she's like has this serious tone, and she's just like blah
Yeah.
every couple lines, and it's just somehow that just works so well to cut the tension.
Yeah. They watch this video of the White Whale, a boss. Very, very obviously a Walt Disney parody.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
got like animated friends. I think they're voiced by Tom Kenny and Cree Summer, if I'm not mistaken. They're narrating the rise. At the end, there's a gag there where it's directed by Brad Bird, and I can't tell if that's the joke just because his last name is Bird in the Animal Show,
Yes.
or if there's something else going on.
It's that.
It's just the bird. Is that it? Okay, fine.
Honestly, Alex, I didn't notice that it was a Walt Disney parody until you said that.
It absolutely
Oh.
was with the animated characters and the way he was like talking.
Maybe I'm just dumb.
No,
No.
it's like an old school Disney thing. He would do that. He'd be at his desk and he'd be like, "I'm Walt Disney. Oh,
Yeah,
and who
yeah.
are you, little fella?" And like some animated creature would be there talking to him. It was to make him appeal to the masses. He was everyone's friendly uncle.
Maybe
That's
you just
the
do like Jeff Bezos for me.
vibe.
Yeah, I don't. Well, like Jeff Bezos doesn't really get off old lovable guy.
He's
you
an
know?
old, like, bald man.
Yeah. Who's the biggest headed billionaire? Like
don't
that
know.
would probably be the closest to a white whale.
Probably Jeff Bezos.
Well, he does have a very tall head, I think. Like,
Oh my
it's
goodness. Do I have to,
fucking
like,
big.
look up a fucking picture of him?
Yes, post a picture of him so I can throw up.
Jesus Christ, Alex.
While you do that, there's also this aside where they're hunting for a lady who has a lead. She's got a whole hunting the white whale like Moby Dick vibe. She's got an eye patch, like call me Isabel, and so this is also just like
Yeah, like Ishmael.
Yeah.
from Moby Dick.
See, so like Jeff Bezos' head is egg-like, but it's not big enough.
Maybe he has the spirit of a big whale head, in essence, just not in practice.
Yeah. And I guess he's the
Bill
most
Gates
visible.
also has a really big head.
Oh, Bill Gates might be closer to that. Yeah.
What's the fuck of a picture?
Yeah, so we got Isabel going on, and I'm not related to this anti-capitalist thing, but as a sports fan, I feel the need to briefly touch on this Chicago baby humans gag. This is a very obvious reference to the Cleveland Indians and the other the Washington football team and other teams that use the
Doesn't the Chicago hockey team, and aren't they like the Blackhawks?
Yep, the Chicago Blackhawks as well.
Isn't
that like a Native American?
Yeah, and so like in this version, it's a giant baby who's dumb and drinks poison. It's like, hey, look,
Diane, we don't drink poison,
but it's a tribute to your heritage.
Yeah.
So this is also just a very on the nose, criticism of how sports works. But I think though this is the first time we've done a sports joke since like Derek Jeter from season 1. But
there you go.
I'm amazed you remembered that, Alex.
Yeah.
Honestly, Live Fast, Diane Nguyen is like one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah, the beginning of the Diane arc, and here we're getting very close to the end.
I just love Diane so much.
And so, while we begin wrapping up on this episode, hot takes on cold foods. Sam, can you give us your thoughts on the sandwiches they sell in? No, not the poison.
A cold food? Because grilled cheese is warm; it's not cold.
Well, true. But no, they were eating sandwiches in this very Chicago representative restaurant.
Sandwich was it?
I thought it was a Philly cheesesteak. Was it not that? What was
Chicago.
But they can still have those sandwiches there.
Well, yeah, but like they're not actually.
But like, why would they be eating Philly cheesesteaks in Chicago? Though?
Yeah, they would be. I don't know what fucking.
Is it a hoagie then?
I thought you would know because I was also confused. I was like, "What sandwich is Chicago known for?" And they didn't.
Do I have to look it up? What?
Let's do it.
Is Chicago?
You are a self-proclaimed food expert on this podcast, so
Italian beef says.
Okay.
Google.
What beef?
Italian beef.
Oh, okay. That checks out.
I mean, it looked good. I'm Italian. I like beef, I guess.
Yeah,
I feel guilty about
corn
them
beef, right?
Cows are so cute. But like, I'm trying to not eat as much meat as I was. So yeah, that sandwich looked good. I would eat it.
It did look good, but I was annoyed that they didn't actually say what kind of sandwich it was in the show. And
maybe it's a trademark sandwich at that certain place. And Raphael was like, "Oh fuck, I can't actually name it." Yeah,
that very specific, not totally Chicago generic restaurant.
Or maybe it's like a hot dog. I don't know. I've only been to Chicago once.
Well, that's more than I have. So
I don't know. When I was there, I ate a deep dish pizza. And
there you go.
Yeah.
I interviewed at a grad school, and I fucking saw Deadpool in a really crowded theater, and then I went home.
See, deep dish pizza would be a much more Chicago-connected food.
I don't like deep dish pizza that much.
It seems heavy.
I don't like pizza that much.
That's a hot take on a hot food, Sam.
I know, but I like pizza, but like I like it in moderation. I will not eat it every single week, obviously, but like maybe once a month at most.
Well, yeah, that's not the same as not liking it. That's just like...
Well, I don't like it all the time. Like, pizza has become, like, this really mimaic food. Like, people make memes about it. Like, buy me pizza and touch my butt, that sort of thing. Like, I don't fucking care. I don't like pizza that much. Like, I'm not going to eat it every goddamn night. I'll eat it maybe once a month. It's okay. It isn't, like, a fucking every single week food.
Okay, you heard it here first from Sam. Pizza, a sometimes food.
Yeah, it's a sometimes food, a rarely food, a treat. It's a treat. That's what pizza is. It's a treat.
Michelle, any final thoughts you want to get off on this episode?
No, I think we covered it.
All right.
She's shook from my pizza takes.
I am.
Yeah. Oh, and yeah, one last thing. This is the introduction of the Diane new ringtone of the season, which is Michael Barbaro from the New York Times Daily podcast. Shout out to that podcast, which is not our podcast. Please just listen to our podcast.
Hey, can I be
anyways.
like a basic bitch and say that like I really like NPR now? I think it's really relaxing.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
And you know that may or may not have something to do with like Diane liking that sort of shit.
Well, if you were inspired to seek it out because of Diane and you found that you got an acquired taste, that's a good thing.
They just have really nice voices, unlike mine.
Yeah, there's always room in our life for calming voices.
For a Terry Gross to like just talk to me about things.
Yeah, and This American Life or whatever else.
Ira Glass or whatever the hell his name is.
Yeah.
I like Terry Gross better.
Okay, fine. Anyways. Surprise. So, the major thing here is Mr. Peanut Butter admitting to Pickles that he cheated on her.
Wow.
And we go through this whole thing of Pickles coping with the situation. I think in the initial thoughts, Michelle mentioned how Pickles is a representative of the younger generation's connection to social media. And,
yes.
I would also like to point out that I think that because she's younger, the way that this is settled seems to fit a bit closer into Mr. Peanut Butter's mental age, in that this is a very... it seems like an immature way of ending the argument, but because Pickles is young and Mr. Peanut Butter is just accepting of this and also immature in its own way, that this feels like the perfect way it would have ended.
Well,
like,
okay. So I was rewatching season 2 at some point in the recent past, and I think at one point Kelsey Jennings was like BoJack and Wanda. Remember her?
Yeah.
Yes.
He was like.
Lady.
She was like, BoJack likes to date younger girls because BoJack got famous in his 20s and he's never going to mentally age past that. So I think the same is true with Mr. Peanut Butter. Like, he got famous when he was in his 20s-ish, I guess. So, that immaturity is still going to be there and he's still going to be, like, emotionally stunted from, like, that big, like, TV show he was on that, like, made him this perfect star and, like, he never had to, like, grow as a person after that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that might be what he wants to believe, but I feel like his age has been catching up with him since he dated Pickles, because he just doesn't understand, like, younger technology anymore. And in a few instances, the beginning of Surprise, when Pickles is using social media, he's like, oh, what a cute, like, emoji heart. Like, he talks about, like, he's never seen one before. Like, it's totally foreign to him. I feel like
What's an emoji heart?
He may not want to be growing up, but I feel like it's still catching up with him anyway, regardless of his intentions. Because, like, he's at least twice Pickles' age, right? I feel like she's in her mid-20s, and he's probably in his mid-40s.
Like 50.
Yeah, he's like BoJack's age, maybe a little younger, but still.
Yeah, but I guess my question is, like, do you think that this is actually a maturing for Mr. Peanut Butter here, or like how? Because I don't think that this episode is really meaning to make this anything positive for him. Like, I think it's more like focusing on Pickles just inevitably having to get to this information. But I guess I just wonder, like, where are we with Mr. Peanut Butter here? Because, like, again, this feels like a very, at least to me, a bit of a silly way to end it all, and I wonder if that really does anything for him as a character.
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean,
I don't have too much of an opinion.
I feel like maybe in the context of the episode, we're supposed to understand that his guilt caught up with him and that he has told her everything. And he like jumped through the hoops of her being like, give me my favorite drink. You know what that is. And at the end agreeing that she can sleep with other people to even the score. Which, while that's like kind of an immature way to think about settling it, if it works for them, I guess it's fine. I'm not sure how mad we're supposed to be at Mr. Peanut Butter in the context of this episode. I feel like he is trying. Personally, I don't think that lets him off the hook at all. But I don't know if we're supposed to be like as mad at him anymore. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels weird.
Yeah, I mean, that was my general impression, too. Like, this feels strange. Like, this is how we're kind of ending this. And it doesn't really advance past this for the rest of the season, right? Because, like, every time we cut back to Pickles, I feel like it is just like, oh, I'm just having sex with this other guy. It doesn't really feel the same. I'm just going to keep doing it. And that's kind of their thing for the rest of the season. So, like, we're kind of stuck around here for a bit. There is an important detail where, in a humorous moment where BoJack and Diane are pretending to be his smart house, Diane tells Peanut Butter to, hey, listen and hear Pickles out, and don't be dismissive like you usually are. And he actually applies this advice. Like, he is about to, like, open his mouth, he stops and lets Pickles, like, actually complete her statements. So, like, I think that at the very least you could interpret that as a small moment of victory, although who knows if that lasts, but it's definitely something that Mr. Peanut Butter hasn't done before. And it also feels good to see Diane be able to, like, call that out to Mr. Peanut Butter again.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So while all that is happening, I think that the stronger parts are, like, seeing the rest of the cast interact in these hijinks of avoiding getting caught by Mr. Peanut Butter and Pickles. Sam, do you have a favorite part of this episode, or like a favorite pairing?
I really liked Pickles' parents. I think that they were hilarious, and that, I don't know, they're so cute because they're dogs and they're pugs, and I don't know, they're cute. I thought the weakest part was probably BoJack's, like, sober buddy.
Oh, the fainting goat.
Yeah, I thought that was fucking lame. But other than that, I don't know, like, I thought it was very funny, like, all the gags with, like, Ruthie and, you know, Todd and Princess Caroline trying to, like, get her out of sight of Pickles. It's just good, wholesome comedy, you know?
Yeah. I will say that the goat being the sober buddy was not great, but it was worth it to see him getting caught in the panic room and then just being stuck with bottles of alcohol.
That wasn't funny! I got sober, Alex!
I thought it was kind of funny too. He's in the panic room and it's just like, don't panic, drink. And he's like, oh no! And he just out cold on the floor.
My one weakness.
Yeah, my one weakness.
He's trying to be sober. He doesn't want to drink. It's sad.
He didn't succumb. He just fainted. BoJack found him. It's fine.
But then he's gonna...
Look, I understand your sympathy for Eduardo, so I will respect your feelings.
Thanks.
Michelle.
I just care about his thoughts and feelings.
Yeah. He's a person, a goat person.
Yeah.
A centaur? Michelle, do you have a favorite part or a favorite pairing in this episode?
I really liked Ruthie's baby shenanigans. So many people were involved in that. It was like hot potato with the hedgehog baby, and that was really good. Also, them like figuring out Pickle's social media and typing in advice like take a bath, like go outside, go to the park. I love both those things. I think they were pretty honestly good to watch.
Yeah, it was a lot more subdued. The visual representation of the social media messages, like little bubbles coming out. I feel like other episodes have made that a bit more obvious, but this was still like a nice touch whenever they like showed comments popping out. I wrote down one that just show your feet in the middle of it.
No, there's always the creepers on there. Yeah. Always the creepers.
Yeah, so that
dislike.
So, a full representation of the 2019 social media experience.
Don't do that.
I will say in general, Princess Carolyn and Todd together, like, that's always a good pairing, and I enjoyed seeing them hunt down Ruthie in a lot of situations.
They're best friends.
And, like, the little moments where, like, everybody's catching up with each other, like, Princess Carolyn and Diane was like, hey, like, it's been a while, and they're just, like, together in the closet, and yeah, well, I'll just let that sit. And BoJack and Diane, like, gradually getting through their conversation in the middle of all the hiding in terms of, like, I'm moving on. It's like, that was all good stuff. So, yeah, it was just, like, lots of little pieces in there.
How do you tell your friend that you're moving across the country? Oh,
You say, hey, guess what?
You show up to a party and be like, hey, I'm gonna move. And
I actually did have to do that at one point.
Like, literally go to a party?
No, I had it, like, remember when I lived in New Mexico?
Yeah.
I don't live in New Mexico anymore, by the way. But remember when I lived there and I left where I was living and I had to tell my friends? I don't remember how. I think I just was like, I'm leaving!
That's
Goodbye.
What Diane did. Yeah, same thing.
I'm like Diane.
Yeah. I'm the opposite and did not tell anybody I was moving to Philly, so... So you and Diane are better people.
Are we? I didn't tell anybody I came back, so...
Well, yeah. You'll live. Let's hear other random stuff. There's a whole thing about Mr. Peanut Butter making boba for Pickles.
Is that the hot takes on cold foods? How do you... I've never had boba.
I've never had boba.
Boba's great. It's so chewy and it's fun to find it at the bottom. It's a good time. You should try it, both of you.
Okay.
How do you feel about whipped cream?
Sometimes it ruins, like, cause like sometimes you just want something like a nice milky tea, and whipped cream's like so not that. But sometimes you're real hungry, and it's nice to have that extra. See, that's how Pickles feels too. So, like in her heart, she wants it. She's like, no, but then sometimes she goes for it anyway.
Yeah, she was very confused by the choice of whipped cream, and Mr. Peanut Butter too. It's just a long when he's presenting.
He did the smart thing of just doing both options, so he couldn't be wrong, which I kind of understand.
I feel like whipped cream on boba is too much.
It depends on the flavor.
Says the person who hasn't drank boba, though.
Yeah,
but like it's a tea. I wouldn't want whipped cream on a tea.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think you have to be in a certain mood for it, but some people love it. It just makes them feel fancier.
Yeah. Also, like, this episode ends with Princess Carolyn asking Todd to be the nanny for Ruthie, so that will be touched on later in the season. And I think that this has one of the strongest ending punchlines of BoJack episodes, because earlier in the episode, Mr. Peanut Butter was dissing Pickles' parents, like, your dad has an anger management problem and your mom gets off on it. So it ends with the Pickles' parents calling, and Peanut Butter's like, yeah, fun, put them on the speaker. And then it just hard cut to credits. I got a really good kick out of that. I don't know about you guys, but... and anything else from this episode? Like, this is a very gag-based episode, so like not a lot of deep stuff to get into, but is there anything else we missed from here that you guys want to talk about?
Remember when they were like, they were like the heater and like the fucking like alarm clock and shit? I don't know. I don't remember quite. When BoJack and Diane were pretending to be like, never mind.
Oh, and the thermostat.
Oh, yeah.
And the coin change counter.
Yes, that is exactly what I meant.
Yeah, I remember. That was good.
I like that one, too.
And Mr. Peanut Butter just, like, buys it. He's like, oh, yes, of course, coin operator, you understand.
Yeah, I mean, he wished for his house to give him advice, so he accepted it without question. Because,
I think that's what happens when you get to be a certain amount of wealthy. Like, you're not surprised if the things you purchase just have these other uses you didn't assume they came with. Like, oh, and it gives me advice. Well, you get what you pay for, totally.
What a life.
Yeah.
Just learning new things about your devices.
Yeah.
Michelle, any other random stuff you want to mention about this app?
I appreciated that Todd's gonna be the nanny, just because, like, I feel like, honestly, Todd's subplots have been the thing I'm normally the least hyped for, because they always feel like, what's the most random thing we can do with Todd this season? And this one's actually helping someone, and he's good at it, and I like Princess Carolyn, and I like Ruthie, so, like, I'm glad that they're in Todd's hands. Like, he seems very capable as a nanny. So this is, like, the most practical use I've seen of him in a long time. So I'm really glad that this is his thing for the season now.
Yeah. He says that he's good at thinking like a baby, because when he feels low, he likes to get high.
Yeah, Ruthie's a climber. He's got good instincts.
Yeah. So, Yeah, well, with that, I think we're gonna wrap up here. That was episodes 3 and 4. I think we're all in agreement that these were very good episodes. I don't know if we want to bother with ranking or we'll save that till
Oh my
later.
god! Obviously, the best episode is I don't know.
Well,
what was that, Sam?
Well, let's just say, do you guys think that either of these episodes are in the running for best of the season?
Maybe.
I don't know.
We'll see. But
We'll see. We've only done 4 so far.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
We'll hold off.
Yeah.
Also, the season isn't technically over.
Yeah, we only got half of the season also.
Yeah,
it's really not fair to rank. I know you love ranking, Alex.
Netflix cutting off their seasons. I just wanted to see if somebody felt strong enough to claim it right now.
My God.
Fine.
Well,
not yet.
maybe in the future I will decide if I feel strong enough.
Fine.
No pressure.
So you will listen to us continue to talk about episodes of BoJack in our efforts to eventually rank them.
Oh my God, is that what anybody listens to podcasts for? Just like rankings?
Sometimes, yeah.
I don't like that.
Hey, they still do.
I mean, I understand the almighty appeal of a numbered list, but like, why do we have to be that?
Okay, well, look, we also provided therapy on this podcast. We provided discussion on Chicago. We talked about billionaires' heads. So we've talked about a lot of different topics on this. If you were unsatisfied by us not having a ranking, we talked about other stuff. So
Top 10 OMG moments from episodes 3 and 4 of BoJack Horseman season 6.
That's a real girl crush level.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Well, anyways, you can find out more about BoJack Horseman and our discussions on that at overlyanimated.com. You can also talk with us about the show or any other animated show we cover here at overlyanimated.com/discord. You can support us financially via Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to all our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Hope, aka Katara. Thanks to our Patreon executive producers, Ryan, Steve, Beatrice, Hugh, Michael, and Needle. Besides BoJack Horseman, we've got a busy month of animation going on. We're discussing She-Ra episodes. We recently had the full season discussion. We'll have episode by episode soon. Rick and Morty will be coming out soon. We got Ruby going on, Miraculous Ladybug, so a wide variety of animated shows that we cover here. And we will be back to further discuss this season of BoJack Horseman. Episodes 5 and 6 probably would be next. But until then, we'll talk to you later. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.